Welcome back. All right, news of the day, and all that wonderful stuff for a Tuesday. Happy Tuesday and all. Nice day here. Hopefully, nice day where you're at too. The Philadelphia Flyers have made news this morning and putting Shane Gostisbehere on waivers. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Gostisbehere, and he's an interesting Seattle potential landing spot kind of player. And I say that because I could see the Flyers maybe buying him out this offseason coming up if they can't find a taker and with a $4.5 million cap hit until 2023, it's possible. And then he's the kind of player that I could see an expansion team saying, you know what, we can bring him in, cheap contract, and see what he can do. And Gostisbehere, it's felt like he could flourish on another team. This year he has 5 goals and 6 assists in 25 games, so has not been flourishing in Philadelphia. And he's clearly not had the approval of Alain Vigneault while Vigneault's been there. And I know from watching him in other locations that once a player's in his doghouse, it can be hard to get out of that. So we'll see if there's any takers on Gostisbehere, if maybe it's easier to trade him once he's cleared waivers. But again, the $4.5 million, it's a hefty price tag for a guy who may not click on another team. So we'll see. Trade deadline is, of course, 13 days out. And so there's the possibility that a team will circle back and say, we weren't able to find the player we were looking for on the trade block. We'll circle back on Gostisbehere. Good news for Boston. Marchand had a false positive, so he's had 3 negative tests. He's back in the lineup tonight. And Brandon Carlo returns tonight for the first time since he took that hit from Tom Wilson. So he says he's 100%. He also said he was taken to the hospital because he had blurred vision after the hit, that's standard. It's just having worked in first aid. I was taught if somebody's suffering from headaches, blurred vision, sign of a concussion, you send them to the hospital. So it's just standard. And it's a standard the NHL didn't used to have. It's just used to be. Vision's kind of blurry. I don't know. Give him a beer in between periods, send him back out on the ice. The whole way they used to deal with head injuries. He's fine. He can skate, can he? Can he hold a stick? He's fine. Get back out on the ice. I'm not your mother. Get out on the ice. So, yeah. Carlo's back in the lineup. That'll make a difference for Boston. That'll definitely help their blue line. Can they score 5-on-5? Brad Marchand, if you watched the last game, hopefully you saw whatever the secret is, so Boston can get a goal 5-on-5 against the Devils tonight. That'd be a nice, pleasant surprise. Vinny Trocheck could return tonight for the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina has been insanely good. And it's funny because they get overshadowed by being in the same division as the defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. But they've held their own against the Lightning when they've been head-to-head. So they're 11-1-3 at home. They're 12-6 on the road. This is also in part, because they are number 1 right now on the power rankings board. They're still there. And it is remarkable. And the funny thing is, when the one way that I can tell when somebody really hasn't been watching Carolina is when they say, well, their goaltending isn't good enough. It's if not for their goaltending. I was saying the same thing coming into this season. I'm not saying it now. Nedeljkovic is 8-2-2 with a 2.05 goals against and a 929 save percentage. Reimer, 13-4-1 with a 2.7 goals against average and a 907 save percentage. Nedeljkovic has outperformed Reimer, so when/if Mrazek's back and good to go, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Reimer who ends up being the third guy and ends up being the one that gets traded. And they decide to keep Nedeljkovic because he's just been the better goaltender of the two. And that's no insult to Reimer. So yeah, Carolina, there really isn't a weakness there. Their top 6 is fantastic. Their top 9 forwards are all excellent. The depth is there. It's going to be an interesting postseason for them because they really look like a team that could go on a run and could end up winning the whole thing. They really do. The projections of maybe it being Colorado and Carolina in the finals, I could really see that. And again, then you get the Whalers against the Nordiques. And there's something kind of fun about that idea. So yeah, I will continue to discuss how good Carolina is until the day comes that they go by the wayside, fall off the track. But for right now, they've been, I think, the best team in the league. No offense to any of the other best teams out there, because since you only play in your own division, you can make a claim that Colorado's the best. You can make a claim Pittsburgh's the best. You can make a claim that Washington's the best, or Vegas, or because they only play in their own division, right? So, or Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton. It's great. This year we can all make claims that there's about 8 or 9 teams that are the absolute best in the league because you don't play outside your division. Tyler Toffoli is back skating, but he's seen as being a few days away for the Montreal Canadiens. One other thing, too, that I didn't put on the board, but I think is noteworthy. So Montreal's had this long break. I think that's going to benefit Carey Price. We'll see tonight. He's starting tonight. I think that time away, even if it wasn't planned, it may be even better that it wasn't planned. Maybe it'll get Price back in the right headspace, and he'll be good to go. Yeah, so if Toffoli's back in a few days, and if Carey Price is on it, then Calgary and Vancouver don't have a hope. Because again, for Montreal, they all seem to cool off at the same time. So maybe the time off will help them snap back into it. For Tampa fans, Ryan McDonagh is close, but he's likely out for the next 1 or 2 more games before he's going to be back. Chernak's out tonight. He's considered to be close as well. It has definitely hurt Tampa's defense, not having 2 of their best defensemen out there, which makes a lot of sense. And so they'll be going without them for at least another couple of games. Shen's been a decent fill-in, but again, you don't have McDonagh, you don't have Cernak. That's going to lead to more shots against, better shots against as well, because these guys are shot-blocking defensive defensemen mostly, and it hurts not having him out there. And Cernak also has shown some offensive flair too. So one thing making the rounds today is Erik Karlsson in his post-game presser, which is all done via Zoom and over the phone and all that. And I have to say, some of these have produced great sound bites. And so Erik Karlsson was asked by a reporter whether or not his 2 goals last night, and then the goal in the shootout, which was the game winner, spoiler alert, whether or not this was his best offensive game. And while he's eating an apple, he says not even close. That was it. And I think the writer was waiting for something more, but I think a better question would have been, is this the best offensive game you've had over the last, since the pause? Is this the best offensive game you've had as a Shark? I think there were some questions, but best offensive game, just like that, nah. And I can say too, he's not lying. He had games in Ottawa where he was just dominant. He was always on the ice, and he was everywhere, both ends of the rink. He was absolutely fantastic. One of my favorite players then. That's why when Ottawa traded him, I made sure I got a Karlsson jersey as soon as I could, because his time in Ottawa, he was fantastic. And I think that gets overshadowed a little bit by his contract now in San Jose and the fact that it hasn't gone great. But last night's game showed you he can still put the puck in the net. Maybe he's going to go on a bit of a run in the second half, which could only benefit San Jose. So, for Pittsburgh fans, there hasn't been a lot of update in regards to Jari, other than it's an upper body injury. And that was revealed by Coach Sullivan, and not much else is being said yet. Just that he was taken out by the training staff, who decided that he couldn't finish the game. And so we'll see how long he's going to be out. The one good thing is Casey DeSmith has proven he's a very capable backup, and he can start a few games in a row if he needs to. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Pittsburgh's goaltending, whether or not maybe they end up in the market for a third-string goaltender if they feel the need. I think there'll be a lot of teams that decide to load up a little bit. The goaltending carousel, Pierre LeBrun has an article where he talks about the goaltending carousel, which is going to get started again this year. It's a remarkable number of goaltenders who could end up getting moved. Because keep in mind, we have Seattle coming in, so that's going to change the whole picture. And then once Seattle's done the expansion draft process, that's going to start a whole other goaltending, potentially, revolving door, depending on which team you cheer for. Which team do you cheer for? Well, which one is it? Okay, no, that was on you. If there was a shock, it's on you, because you're a cat. I don't know why he suddenly needed my attention. What's the problem? What's the problem? All right, apparently he's fine. Okay. No, you're fine. You're fine. You don't need me to stand here and pet you all day. So, yeah. Jari, we'll see how long he's out when he's going to come back. Maybe that's what upset him. That he didn't. Maybe he's a Penguins fan. I have no idea. All right. Let me know your thoughts regarding any of these topics. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.